If you've ever dreamed of getting your book published by a traditional publisher, you've probably heard the same advice that I have. You need an agent. Today, I'm sharing exactly how I landed mine, the steps I took, what I do differently, and the 3 things I wish I would have known before I started. And if you're not a writer, think of this as a playbook for pitching yourself into any big opportunity, a job, a speaking engagement, a creative collaboration, where the answer is almost always no, unless you make a compelling strategic case. Hi, I'm Laverne McKinnon, and welcome to the Moonshot Mentor community. If you're navigating a career transition or going after a really, really big dream, I'm your person. I'm a career strategist and a grief recovery specialist, and I love to help people going through any type of career advancement, change, sort through the noise spiritually, strategically, and tactically so you can make moves that actually feel really aligned to what's most important to you. There is never a need to go it alone. I am here for you and with you. Okay, let's jump right into the deep end of landing a publishing agent. Now, the first step of 5 steps is you've got to decide on your path. Traditional, self, or hybrid publishing. So before you get too far down the road with writing your book, take a moment to think about which route you want to take to get your work into the hands of your ideal reader. Now, why does this matter? Because the path shapes every decision that follows, how you write, who you partner with, and how you plan to market. So clarity up front, it helps you set realistic expectations and avoid burnout midstream. So here are your 3 routes. The first route is traditional publishing. You sign with a publisher who covers editing, design, distribution, and some marketing, like very little. Now, what happens here is you get credibility, the pat on the back of, oh, a traditional publisher thinks that what I'm doing is actually worthy of investment. You would get an advance. These days, the advances, unless you are a high-profile individual with a big following, the advance is probably going to be very, very small. The process also takes longer than other processes, but you'll still actually carry a lot of the weight of the marketing and promotion yourself. The second route is self-publishing. Now, with self-publishing, you control the entire process, from editing to cover design to marketing. Now, the upside of this is it's much faster and the royalties are higher, but all of the costs and the logistics are on you. Hybrid publishing is a third route, and what this means is that you're actually going to pay upfront for a professional to edit, design, and distribute your book while you are responsible for the marketing, the promotion, all of that. I wanted to go with a traditional publisher for 2 reasons. The first one was really, really important to me, which is editorial partnership, because I wanted to work with a seasoned editor who could help me reach the full potential of this book. The second is infrastructure and distribution. While publishers are no longer investing heavily in marketing, they do have systems in place that I couldn't and didn't want to build myself. Now, if I don't secure a traditional publisher with my book proposal, then I will most likely self-publish. Okay, step 2. Are you writing a nonfiction or fiction book? Because if it's nonfiction, you're actually writing a book proposal first. If it's fiction, then you're writing the full manuscript. So that was my first big lesson. I thought I needed to write the entire book before reaching out to publishing agents. But since I'm writing a nonfiction book, I needed a book proposal to send to publishing agents for their review to determine if they wanted to represent me and my property. Now, if you don't know what a book proposal is, it's basically a sales pitch for your book. Part summary, part marketing plan, part writing sample. So you would have a couple of chapters in the book proposal, but not the entire book. So the book proposal is going to convince an agent or a publisher to say yes to representation. And there's a very, very specific format with book proposals that you have to follow, or honestly, it's just not going to get read. So I found free proposal templates online. I also asked my network for examples. And oh boy, I so quickly realized that I needed more than just a template. I needed accountability, I needed guidance, and I needed mentorship. I had so many questions about the book proposal format because they weren't all exactly the same. And I wanted to understand, like, can I do this? Can I put this in a different order? Like, what's the length? Blah, blah, blah. So I really, really needed help. Now, despite being in over my head after I looked at these book proposal templates, I still had the confidence, though, that I could swim with some side coaching. So I found my book proposal coach through a recommendation. I got lots and lots of recommendations, and I met with several people. And I knew after meeting with her that she was the right fit. Her name is Patty Hall, and I loved her energy, her immediate understanding of my vision, and that she had worked with other first-time authors in my genre. So we wound up working together for about 9 months, and we did it one-on-one and in a group setting. To be transparent, which I will always be with you, I missed every single deadline that I set for myself while I was working with Patty. Writing a book proposal is so much harder than I expected, even with support and guidance and mentorship. Without Patty and the group support, I honestly would have quit. So whether you're writing a proposal or a manuscript, I want to encourage you to get super, super honest and clear about what's going to set you up for success in completing your work and go after it. I found James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, helpful in finding what motivates me. And what motivates me is structure and the desire to be an A-plus student. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I actually revealed that. The third step is doing research so you can target the right publishing agents who are then going to send your book proposal to editors at publishing houses. So this step happens once you have your proposal super polished. You do not want to send prospective publishing agents something that is too close to a rough draft. The two most helpful tools in figuring out which agents to submit to were Query Tracker, Query Tracker, all one word, and this is a free app. And then I also use my network. Query Tracker is an app that allows you to search for publishing agents by genre, see which ones are open to queries, and then you can actually use Query Tracker to submit your query based on the agent's preferences, and you get to track those submissions at the same time. Every agent has a different process. Some want an email submission with the proposal pasted into the body of the email. Others want it as an attachment in Word, not PDF, which I found sort of surprising. And some have a submission form that asks about the subject matter of your book, your social media profile, your bio. Now, from there, if they're interested, they would request the full proposal. When I researched agents on Query Tracker, and I don't actually know how many agents are on Query Tracker, but it is hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands. So this is why it's really important that you know the genre of your book, what category your book is in, so that you can look through these agents and figure out, do they represent books that are like mine? And then once you see those titles, then you can get a sense of, do I connect with like their sensibility? Are we aligned? And do they have any recent deals? Are they actually active in the marketplace and understand what's getting represented? In terms of my network, and I want to encourage you to do this as well, I didn't discriminate in terms of who I asked for help and who I didn't, because I have no idea who knows who. So I said something like, I'm looking for a publishing agent who represents nonfiction books that would fall into a self-help category and like or are open to working with first-time authors. About a dozen friends or friends of friends came back with recommendations and were so generous in referring me to those agents so that I had a soft landing as opposed to having to do a cold email submission, which I did do a lot of. I'm going to give you a third bonus tool. It's a little pie in the sky, but it's still incredibly helpful. I curated a list of about 20 books that were similar to mine in category, topic, and style, and then I researched who was the publishing agent for that book. Now, I did this in two ways. I either did a Google search and just literally said, who's the publishing agent for Brené Brown? Or I would look at the acknowledgments in the book, and honestly, like every single author that I looked up acknowledged their publishing agent in the acknowledgments of their book. So it's not too hard to find. And then I cross-referenced those names with Query Tracker. And unfortunately, most of those agents were not accepting queries at the time, but I don't regret the exercise because it's really helped me in terms of being able to talk about my book and how I would see it positioned in the marketplace. Step number 4, personalize your query letters. Really, don't spray and pray. Personalization truly matters. I spent 20 to 30 minutes on each letter, even with a template that I had created. So I customized that by researching every agent, and then I would make adjustments to my pitch to reflect the information that I found about their recent deals or what they stated about their interests. Now, yes, I made mistakes. I once sent an agent, I'm just going to call her Taylor Casey, and I sent a query that began, "Dear Casey," instead of "Dear Taylor." Oh my gosh, in fairness, she does have 2 first names. I caught it the second that I hit send on that email, and then I freaked out and I got all flustered and I could not hit the unsend button in time. So I wound up sending her a second email, like really quickly after that, apologizing. To her credit, she did respond after a couple of days and was so gracious about my mistake and said that it happens all the time. She did not read my book proposal. It wasn't a match for her, but I really appreciated the personal response and just to acknowledge that the process is human. I also used LinkedIn to see if I had direct or indirect connections to the agents on my list. And when I did, I would ask for an introduction. And I think that maybe happened like once or twice. I don't have as many detailed notes on that as possible. But I do want to give you a quick rundown of my stats as I have them right now. So I identified 137 total agents that I thought were a match for my book. Now, through doing the research with Query Tracker, about 2/3 of those agents were not accepting submissions. Of the 137 names, I submitted a query to 48 of them over a 3-week period of time because it took that long to do my homework and then personalize all the letters. I received 15 rejections from people who actually read the proposal as opposed to the non-responses. 14 of those 15 rejections cited low social media presence as a reason for passing, and only 1 passed because of the quality of the writing. And then 4 expressed interest. Those 29 non-responses didn't bother me because publishing etiquette is refreshingly clear compared to Hollywood, which is where I come from. So if you don't hear within the stated window that the publishing agent had identified, they essentially tell you directly, that means we're not interested. And so we just don't have time to respond to every single submission. So I love that their policy was stated right up front. And then there were even a couple of agents who said that if I got an offer of representation to reach back out to them and they would bump my proposal to the top of their pile. So I don't know, I just feel like that's pretty clear and respectful. Finally, step 5, and I hope that every single one of you that is pursuing something gets to this place where you get to choose your match. I know that I was incredibly lucky to have interest from 4 agents, and I met with each of them, and in fact, with 2 of them, I met more than once. And what I wanted to know is, what is your process? Because I was looking for someone who would do developmental work with me, I just had so much more to learn. And so I wanted to know what their process was in terms of giving feedback on the proposal and subsequent drafts. I also wanted to know what was a submission strategy. Now, I was ready to trust the agents completely. I've never taken a book proposal out, and I have no interest in second guessing their expertise. That said, I do love to know about strategy because it's my jam and I love to learn. And then finally, what creative notes did they have? And this was really the most important question because I wanted to make certain that we were aligned on the direction of the book so that when we went out to traditional publishing houses, that we were working together and not at odds. It was such a hard choice to decide which of these 4 agents would be the best match for myself. I ultimately signed with Jude Mara at Peters Fraser Dunlop because her creative feedback was sharp, it was specific, And she'd partnered with a more seasoned agent at PFD in my category for when it came time to build strategy and make submissions. So I really appreciated that she was willing to rally other team members, other forces to support my book. And that really meant a lot. And I could see her passion for the project. And then finally, we have a mutual friend who trusts her implicitly. So of course, I trust her implicitly. The truth, all 4 agents were truly amazing, and I could not have made a bad decision. Sometimes there's more than one right answer. Number 1, you need a log line and a bio. So before you dive into the process, whether it's actually writing your manuscript, writing the proposal, working with a coach, sending queries, or meeting with agents, take the time to write 3 different versions of your book. A 1-pager, 1 paragraph, and then 1 sentence. This clarity is going to help you with your query letters and in conversations. I wish that I would have done this at the beginning of the process. I frequently found myself having to recreate the wheel and just being a little bit all over the place. And then once I wrote those 3 different descriptions, wow, it just became so easy to have conversations with people about my book. Your bio is just as critical. It's what your network and your agent are going to use when introducing you. And it also goes into your query as well, because everybody wants to know what is your background. And honestly, you're going to lean on this in the future so you don't ramble when an agent or an editor says, "Tell me about yourself." So like the log line, you want to have a long version of your bio, a medium version, and a short version ready. Number 2, comparable titles are critical. Agents and publishers want to know where your book fits on the shelf. So this means recent comps within 5 years that show market demand and leave space for your unique angle. And just in case you don't know what a comparable is, it's literally another book that's very similar to your book, but not exactly the same. Number 3, expect the weather to change. Some days you'll be stuck, blocked, or ready to quit. The clouds will pass. The sun's going to come back out and you're going to feel motivated and joyful and happy and clear. And then the clouds are going to come back again. And then the sun comes back. And then the cloud comes back. And then the sun comes back. So release any expectations that the process is going to be just smooth sailing, and just keep going forward. On the surface, today's post is about getting a literary agent for your book. But honestly, the same principles apply to any ambitious career move. Clarify your goal and path before you start pitching. Do the research so you're aiming at the right opportunities. Get expert support to accelerate your learning curve. Personalize your pitch to the decision maker. And accept rejection as data, not a verdict. Choose partners for fit, not flash. Building my career as an author is not separate from my work as a coach, a speaker, a workshop facilitator. It's just part of the same arc. Okay, that is it for today. If you're not a paid Moonshot Mentor Substack subscriber and you want more support to stay motivated, feel less alone, and move through your career transition with strategy, purpose, come join my paid Substack community. It's $5 a month and you get exclusive journal prompts, guided meditations, live workshops, and a community of ambitious, driven professionals. You can sign up at moonshotmentor.substack.com. I would really love to see you there, and you will also find all of my socials and ways to work with me. Big thank you to Amanda Kenny for the editing and the social media expertise, and to Lauren Deacon, who manages the Moonshot Mentor brand and is an organizational and research genius. And most of all, thank you for spending time with me today and for taking me on your journey with you. It really means so very, very much to me. So until next week, keep going after your moonshot.